So I got to play 30 minutes of Kirby Air Riders at Gamescom this year. This demo was at the Nintendo business section, so it wasn't the demo that was available to the public. Demo started out with a tutorial that we were able to play, but we were only able to do steps 3 to 9. We weren't able to do beforehand or afterwards. I'm not entirely sure why Nintendo stopped us from doing tutorials 10, 11, and 12. Maybe they were just too complicated, or maybe they were just stuff that they didn't want the public to see. And after we got the tutorials done, we jumped into City Trial, which is a familiar mode for those who have played the GameCube version of the game. If you're watching this footage and you're trying to understand why I filmed it with my phone looking at the screen, Nintendo, for some reason, they don't like direct capture. They don't allow you to take any capture. This is a thing that they've done for years now, where you can't actually take capture of your stuff. You always have to do off-screen stuff, and you always need to make sure there's a body part in the frame. That's why at the bottom right corner you can see my hands, because else they wouldn't have let me record this. So basically, Kirby Air Riders is essentially the spiritual successor, I want to say, to the GameCube game from way back in the day. It's pretty much exactly the same thing, but made for modern day Switch hardware, I want to say. The movements are very similar. It can all be played with one hand. You move forward automatically by yourself, and then you steer left and right with the analog by moving it left and right. And then you hold down B when you're turning around the corner to do a sort of like a drift, and you let go of the drift to boost forward. Or you can just hold down B, and then that will just charge up a gauge, and when that gauge is full, you let go and you boost forward. There's other small mechanics that are in the game that I didn't really get to try that much. Like if you are in a winged vehicle, which is sort of like an aeroplane or something with wings, obviously, you can glide in the air if you tilt the analog up when you go over like a hill or a bump, and then that once you're in the air, you can control it up and down so that you can glide up and down through the air. And also when you're in the air and you land perpendicular to the ground, meaning that the bottom of the cart is perfectly in position with the angle of the ground, as soon as you land, you get a boost. I didn't get to really try these features out because the demo we tried was basically just City Trial. There was 2 matches of City Trial. I just felt that these features weren't used in City Trial. There was no need to worry about landing perpendicular to the ground because there's so much happening in the game. It's not about a race. It's not about getting there in front of other players. It's more just collecting items. So yeah, you don't have to worry about landing properly to get boosts. I mean, you can, but I feel like you're moving around so fast and the maps are actually not the biggest, I would say. So I didn't feel compelled to perfectly land my cart flat. And it also only works with carts that have wings. So if I was in a bike, for example, that doesn't lift off the air, and even if it did, it was only a small bit. But then when you land, you can't control the lift of the vehicle, so you can't really land perfectly on the ground. But essentially, City Trial is very similar to what we experienced in the GameCube back in the day. If you're watching this and you played the GameCube version, then you'll probably feel right at home. It's basically identical to that mode. You and other players scoot around this map to try pick up items which all contribute to your stats, which are then taken over to the match in the next run. For example, in the demo I played, I ran around City Trial and I picked up a whole bunch of stuff, and it gave me a speed boost, and it gave me weight, and it gave me attack and everything. But then I went into Oval Circuit, which is just a round race track where we all had to race as fast as possible to get first and move to the next one. You don't know what minigame you're getting next unless you're playing in a party with people and you all decide that you want to go to Oval Circuit, for example. That means that if you spend more time picking up speed boosts and acceleration boosts during City Trial, then when you take those stats into the next game, which is obviously a race, you'll be faster than the other players. In my case, I picked up a lot of weight items, and I feel like it's just the real life where no matter where I went, I was just getting put on weight the whole time. So yeah, when I went into this oval circuit track, my character was super heavy and I wasn't able to go anywhere, and I was the slowest character on the track because I had all this weight on me. But yeah, I think the weight stat would have been helpful for, say, like a PvP arena where it would be easier to control my character because I was heavier and I would deal more damage because I don't know if the weight of the attack would be better. In the over circuit trial, I was very slow, unfortunately, because I had a lot of weight. The first time I tried it, it wasn't that bad, but the second time I went into the oval track, I did lose terribly just because I picked up the wrong stat boosts and abilities in the city trial. It's difficult because the city trial is pretty chaotic. You can't really see what you're picking up, and you're moving so fast in this quite small map. I don't want to say the maps are big by any means. So yeah, it's difficult to control what you pick up. Like obviously, if you see a stat pick up far in the distance, you can try and avoid it. But with all the chaos going on and your character flying and scooting around and boosting around, it's difficult to perfectly plan what you're going to pick up. Sometimes you just have to just deal with it. I do want to say that Kirby Air Riders does feel a bit clumsy at first. I won't say that I'm a pro after 30 minutes. I probably need like a few hours with the game. It is very busy. It's sort of in that typical Smash Bros. Kirby style where there's a lot happening on the screen. Sound effects all the time. The music and the soundtrack is very loud. It's very flashy. Everything makes a noise and everything flashes. There's character pictures coming up all over the screen. And when you win, you really win. It's that typical Flash gameplay that I think fans of the Super Smash Bros. Series do enjoy, so I can't criticize it for that. Again, I think it is meant to be a party game and a bit chaotic for that, so when you're playing this with friends, that's the whole point. I think you're supposed to have this like party experience, and it's supposed to be like loud and in your face. In terms of the busyness, the game is quite busy. The city trial does feel a bit clumsy at times, I would say. There's a lot happening. I just feel like, you know, city trial worked back in the GameCube because we were in a gaming era where, you know, you couldn't have these highly detailed items and worlds and everything. And now we're on the Switch 2 and everything can be a bit more detailed, so it can be a bit difficult to keep track of everything that's going on in city trial because there's so much happening. But I think it's just going to just take some time. For me personally, it would just take some time to get used to that noise, I guess, in playing the game. There's a whole bunch of cool items you can pick up in City Trial, like a spark bomb that when you throw forward, it slowly expands bigger and bigger and bigger, like it blows up like a balloon, and then that balloon sort of blows up and will deal damage to enemies and they will drop their abilities. And then obviously the pickups that you find in City Trial are both negative and positive, so there were some that you would want to avoid if you can avoid them, and there's some that you would want to pick up if you know that you're going for that build. But again, you don't know what the next mini game is going to be, so for you to focus on one stat, again, that one stat, it will be difficult to find up that pickup because the pickups are randomized, so for you to focus on one stat is also difficult. Again, I think it just plays into that chaos that we love from Kirby, where it's just randomness all the time and it's just all over the place, and if you're good, you're good, and if you're bad, you're bad. But even if you are good and you have a bad run, then it's just fun times because the game isn't meant to be mastered in a way. But I think Kirby Air Riders feels fun to play. The mechanics are simple. You know, you just move one analog left and right to control the character and where the character's going, and then you just flick the analog left and right to do attacks. Yeah, you can play this with one hand essentially. I think that's the whole point of the game, and it's very similar to the original. The original had the same easy, approachable, quick mechanics to pick up and master. I wish I could have done like a race because I feel like I really enjoyed the racing mode more than the city trial. The characters also just feel like, you know, the race would have been a nice way to try out the game myself, but unfortunately the demo was only city trial, likely because of how popular city trial was. Maybe Nintendo just thought that everybody should just play city trial now. So yeah, I mean, I've got a few complaints, but it's not really complaints, it's just more concerns of how the final game is going to come out with how the current demo was. I do think that there might be more modes that they haven't announced yet because there's a few empty blocks on the screen, for example. There's also the racing mode, which is likely going to be the mode I play the most, where you just race across cool little Kirby maps that have, and so far, I mean, those tracks look pretty fantastic. And then you try to be the first, and then that's going to actually really put you to the test when it comes to timing your drifts and getting your vehicle perpendicular to the ground so you can get the boost, you know, and that's like that Mario Kart experience with maybe fast-paced Kirby sort of gameplay, and that's what I am looking forward to the most in the game. The chaos of the city trial just wasn't entirely my thing, but maybe I just need more time with it. So those are my thoughts on Kirby Air Riders. Thanks to Nintendo for giving me hands-on with this game. If you guys have any questions about the game, let me know in the comments down below. The game is set to release on November this year for Nintendo Switch 2. Make sure you catch up on the full Nintendo Direct where they showcase 45 minutes of gameplay, because that's probably all we're going to get for now. Be sure to check out my other Gamescom videos that I have up on the channel right now, including hands-on with Borderlands 4, as well as a hands-on demo with Phantom Blade Zero.